The universe had learned long ago to fear borders. Across the Orion Arm, empires rose and fell not because of ideology or resources, but because of lines, invisible boundaries drawn in space where one species' survival was worth more than another's. On one such border lay the world of Keros 9, a dying moon orbiting a red dwarf, stripped bare by centuries of strip mining and corporate war. It was here that humanity earned a reputation no one expected. Keros 9 was classified as a non-sentient reclamation zone by the Interstellar Concord. That single designation meant everything. No evacuation mandates, no legal protections, no moral obligations. Any life found there was considered collateral by default. But the Concord was wrong. Lieutenant Elias Rourke of the Terran Union knew that the moment he heard the crying. His squad had been deployed to escort a mining convoy through the shattered surface. A routine mission, dangerous only because of unstable tectonics and leftover automated defense systems from a war no one bothered to remember. Rourke had survived 14 combat zones across 6 star systems, yet nothing in his training prepared him for the sound that echoed through the collapsed tunnel ahead. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't animal. It was afraid. "Hold position," Rourke ordered, raising his gauntlet. The tunnel walls glowed faintly with residual radiation, jagged metal and stone fused together by orbital bombardment decades earlier. Sensors showed nothing alive, nothing that qualified at least. The Concord scanners filtered out Class Gamma life forms automatically. Rourke stepped forward anyway. At the end of the tunnel, behind a slab of fallen durasteel, he found her. She was small, no taller than his chest, with pale blue skin patterned in faint bioluminescent lines. Her eyes, large, glassy and silver, locked onto him with pure terror. One arm was trapped beneath the debris, blood darkening the dust beneath her. A Velothi child. The Velothi were an amphibious species once native to this system, officially declared extinct after refusing to relocate during the mining wars. The Concord had accepted the extinction report without protest. Rourke felt something tighten in his chest. "She's alive," he said quietly into his comm. Static answered him. Protocol was clear. Unauthorized sentient contact in a reclamation zone required immediate termination or withdrawal. Rescue operations were forbidden. Interference carried penalties severe enough to erase a career or a life. The child whimpered. Rourke knelt without thinking. "It's okay," he said softly, though he knew she didn't understand his language. "I've got you." He began lifting the slab. That was when the warning alarm screamed. The tunnel ceiling began to collapse, cascading stone and metal crashing down as the ancient structure finally gave up. Rourke's squad shouted for him to retreat. The sensors flashed red, catastrophic failure imminent. The moon's unstable crust was shifting, and the tunnel would collapse entirely within seconds. Rourke had a choice. He could leave, or he could stay. He looked at the child, her eyes locked onto his with a hope so fragile it hurt to breathe. Rourke braced himself and lifted harder. The slab gave way. He shoved the child toward the exit as the ceiling collapsed behind them. His squad dragged her clear just as the tunnel imploded in a roar of dust and fire. Rourke did not emerge. The blast buried him instantly. When the dust settled, all that remained was a collapsed entrance and a single broken transponder signal blinking out into silence. The Velothi child lived. Lieutenant Elias Rourke was officially listed as lost to environmental failure. The Concord expected the incident to fade into obscurity. It didn't. The child, later identified as Illyra, was taken aboard the Terran ship Vanguard's Mercy. Medical scans confirmed what the Concord had denied for generations. The Velothi were not extinct. Small enclaves had survived underground, hiding from the machines that had devoured their world. Humanity reported the discovery. The Concord responded with silence. Then sanctions. Terran trade routes were restricted. Diplomatic access revoked. Human representatives were summoned before the High Assembly and formally reprimanded for violating reclamation protocols. When asked why the rescue occurred, the Terran ambassador gave a simple answer. A human soldier heard a child crying. The chamber laughed. Until the Velothi arrived. 3 months later, Velothi envoys emerged from hiding across the Orion Arm. Refugee fleets, long hidden, long hunted, revealed themselves, carrying survivors who spoke of one name whispered like a prayer through generations of fear. Rourke. The child he saved was not just any survivor. Illyra was the daughter of the Velothi Speaker Prime. Her survival changed everything. The Velothi revealed records, preserved beneath their oceans and cities, detailing the mining wars, the illegal exterminations, and the Concord's willful ignorance. Evidence streamed across the galaxy, visual proof of cities burned, children executed, worlds erased for profit. And at the center of it all stood a single human soldier's final act. A man who had no obligation to help. No treaty to protect him. No reward to gain. Only a choice. Galactic media exploded. Species that had dismissed humanity as volatile and dangerous began to reassess. Not because humans were powerful, but because they were unpredictably compassionate. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds. Concord member states demanded investigations. Trade guilds pulled out. Entire civilizations questioned the moral framework of a galaxy where saving a child was considered a violation. The High Assembly convened an emergency session. For the first time in its history, a fallen soldier was honored posthumously by non-human species. A hologram of Elias Rourke stood in the center of the chamber, dust-streaked armor, visor cracked, one hand extended as if still pushing the child to safety. The Velothi Speaker Prime addressed the assembly, his voice trembling through the translators. He did not know who we were. He did not know our loss. He did not know the cost. He only knew that a child was afraid. In that moment, humanity became something this galaxy has not seen in 1,000 cycles. The Concord attempted to dismiss it as sentiment. Then the alliances began to shift. Worlds previously neutral aligned themselves with the Terran Union. Species long oppressed by reclamation policies sought human protection. The balance of power tilted, not through conquest but through trust. The phrase spread across the stars. Humans will die for children who are not their own. Military analysts struggled to account for it. Strategists warned that any species capable of such sacrifice could not be intimidated, bribed, or fully controlled. A civilization that placed moral choice above survival calculations was, by definition, dangerous. But it was too late. Statues of Elias Rourke appeared on worlds he had never seen. Schools taught his story. Refugees carried his name as a symbol of sanctuary. On Karos 9, the Terran Union halted all mining operations and began full ecological restoration. Velothi cities were rebuilt with human assistance, not as colonies but as equals. Years later, Illyra stood beneath a newly formed sky dome on her restored homeworld. She was older now, her bioluminescent patterns glowing brightly as she addressed a crowd of Velothi and humans alike. "My people survived because one human chose us," she said. "The galaxy changed because he chose wrongly, according to your laws, but rightly according to his heart." She placed a small Terran insignia at the base of Rourke's memorial. Read. Here stood a human. He could have walked away. He did not. And across the stars, every civilization remembered the lesson humanity had taught them that day. When humans decide something is worth protecting, they do not ask the cost. They pay it.